Morning all. As you've already heard me this morning, but I'm Clive Deacon from Cloudreach. I'm very pleased to have two guests and two partners with me today, Mario and Arnold. Mario, do you want to quickly introduce yourself, and then Arnold, over to you?
Sure. Thanks, Clive. Good morning, everybody. I'm Mario Thomas, and I'm Head of Experience Acceleration at Amazon Web Services here in EMEA. And EBA is, Clive, do you want me to explain that now, or do you want me to wait until Arnold's introduction? Yeah, EBA, Experience-Based Acceleration, is a prescriptive learn-by-doing methodology. We use it with our customers across functional roles in their organization, and we use EBA to drive accelerated cloud adoption by removing typical blockers to cloud adoption, like not having an executive sponsor, or perhaps you've got transformation fatigue or some other blocker to cloud adoption. So it's really about you from Amazon to drive cloud adoption at scale in days rather than months or years.
Cool. Arnold. Hey Arnold, do you want to introduce yourself? Looks like Arnold's having some challenges with the sound. So I'll quickly introduce Arnold. Arnold's from Intel. He's based in the Netherlands, and he's the global account manager focused on systems integrators and cloud managed service providers within the ecosystem of private cloud. I'm hoping Arnold will fix his solution while we marry on, but in the meantime, as it was introduced, we're going to look at the challenges. We're going to have a conversation around the challenges and the total cost effectiveness of, the new models that cost management might drive within the organization moving forward. So with that in mind, let's start the conversation off, Mario, and I hope Arnold will be able to join us. If not, I'll fit in where we can. Let's, if we look at the history of cloud, and we, both of us have known each other before, we look at the typical experiences, they typically tend to be CAPEX, OPEX driven. And, I think the model's changed. And what's your view in terms of how customers can drive more value from cloud, not just prior to that transformation journey, but post-transformation journey?
Yeah, I think there's often a need to get a business case articulated and signed off, and often the business case is focused on costs. So, are we going to save money by moving to the cloud? And we kind of use that as the main gating criteria to make a decision. But there are so many other elements of a cloud business case that you can use to explain the value of adopting cloud. So it may be that you want to enter new markets or industries, for example. So, being able to set up a new business in a completely new region to the organization without the need to invest in sort of hardware and the kinds of things you used to have to do before cloud is often a great sort of reason for using the cloud. Is the customer going to get first mover advantage because they're in that new market quicker than perhaps a competitor can? Or you might look at a measure that is based around increasing innovation. So, by adopting the cloud, can the customer increase the pace of innovation within their organization? Can they reorganize into a product-led and product-focused factory? And can they give the levels of service that the business is asking for now in this new world? So, I have two examples there. And I think probably one that's more relevant, given we've just had COP26 in Glasgow. Can we increase the sustainability of the organization by adopting the cloud? Can we reduce our carbon footprint by moving to cloud-based services rather than running our own data centers and ordering our own hardware? So I think it's really, really important that the business case should be balanced between one that is, cost focused versus one that is business outcome focused and says, look, the organization is going to be able to do all of this because of moving to the cloud. I think that the focus on cost can sometimes hide the much larger benefits that you can get from moving to the cloud. Cool.
And Arnold, I believe you're back, so that's cool. So do you have any viewpoint on this?
No, I think I mostly agree with what Mario said, but I think if you're looking at the cloud, at the cost perspective, I think most of the people are mostly focusing around cost savings. But I think it's more about getting the value about you're getting that what you're spending. So instead of just looking how much can I reduce my costs, it's more about, hey, how can I reduce the waste, or what additional stuff can I do when I look at my current spend that I currently have. So that would be a little bit of my view.
Good. And just a little bit more on this particular side of the topic. Do you see FinOps really driving forward, and is there a big uptake in that capability within organizations?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's in early stages because a lot of people still don't know exactly how to do it, especially how to embed it within your organization, because mostly it's just one person trying to drive down the cost and other people just doing the things like that they're doing. So I think it's important that you really embed it in your organization and really also make DevOps teams responsible for the costing, and that they are aware what's running in the estate and how can we drive that as a whole organization, which will stimulate, again, innovation, because it drives you into a different mindset. And on the other hand, there will also be a lot more collaboration going on between the different teams. So I think will be beneficial if everybody adopts it.
Mario?
Yeah, I agree. I think FinOps is we're certainly seeing much greater embedding of FinOps functions now within customer cloud adoption projects. And I think, Clive, you and I have probably had a dozen or so water cooler conversations where we've talked about the importance of involving finance from the outset. Yeah. In the sort of cloud adoption project, because often that's where the wheels come off. When cloud sort of started as a shadow IT project because it was easy to procure, throw it on a corporate credit card and away you go. And as it's become more mainstream in the organization and the spends have increased, now procurement are far more involved now in the life cycle of making a cloud purchase decision. And so for me, involving a finance lead or a finance function as early as possible at the start of cloud adoption is really key, but also ongoing, because things like cost optimization and continuous evolution of the account and pricing as the use of cloud increases is a really important function for any organization to have. So FinOps for me is central to the success of any cloud adoption project.
Yeah, I can't agree more, and I think there's a lot more maturity checkpointing going on with organizations at the start of the journey, and they're recognizing they need to get people involved. And it's not just finance, but legal have an impact on this as well. I've seen clients that have set up contracts with public cloud vendors for one particular service and not thought about driving down moving forward. So you see daft things like that. So let's take this a little bit further. So obviously the world is in a complete and utter I don't use the word turmoil, but I suppose that's probably a good word at the moment. With COVID and what's going on, and hopefully nothing more as bad as COVID, but are you seeing the impact on your customers? Are you seeing impact on the industry? And is that reflected in terms of the general challenges of how they want to drive more value and get more cost? Arnold, what's your view on that?
Well, definitely I've seen things happening because a lot of the customers needed to move very quickly into the cloud, or at least unleash their applications towards the public, because it was all about business continuity. And I think in that rush, a lot of people did as much as they could, but now they're in the state where, okay, we're here, but what are we going to do? We're talking about security during the day already, so that's one big topic. But also, again, the cost topics comes back into play, because due to the quick movement, a lot of lift and shift has happened. With as a result, applications that are not optimized, not cloud native, taking a lot of extra costs, these kind of things. So definitely there's things happening. What I now see happening is that a lot of the end customers at our side are trying to play catch up, and it's really driving the digital transformation very massively at the moment. So a very big uptick over there.
Cool. And Maren?
Yeah, I think we've all rung up a supplier or a service provider that we use, and we've all heard the pre-recorded voice message that says, due to the COVID pandemic, it may take us longer to service your request, or there's a 10-week delay on buying something. And I think that I really worried at the start of the pandemic that organizations wouldn't take COVID as an opportunity to transform their organization. And actually in the summer, we did some research. We surveyed 10,000 AWS customers across EMEA, and we got some really interesting statistics. So the first sort of interesting statistic for me was that 46% of those customers said that new entrants and disruptors to the market had been able to move more quickly than they could in adopting cloud technology and had taken market share from them. So that was sort of the first warning sign for me, was that, hey, if you're not quick to innovate and quick to change your business, somebody else will come in and do it for you. So as a result of that, 94% of those same surveyed people said that senior leaders said that they'd made some adjustment to their business models during the pandemic, and actually 56% said they'd changed their business model significantly. So pandemic had driven significant changes in the way that the customers were using their business, and actually on average customers brought forward digital transformation initiatives by 2 years and 5 months. So they really accelerated that innovation. And for me it was like, well, you know, what's on the other side of this? What happens after pandemic? And again, 89% of those that were surveyed with us said they expected their revenues to grow on average by 21% over the next year. Now that's a huge prize that's sitting on the table. So if you've taken the lead and you've been proactive and sort of adopted cloud and streamlined the organization and accelerated innovation, you're suddenly going to be able to go after that 21% and probably more than you would have been able to do if you hadn't made those changes. I think the other thing that I've seen happen is that senior business leaders, line of business leaders, are actually realizing they can do this, they can innovate. They're not necessarily stuck waiting for IT in the IT silo to you know, move away from business as usual. They're actually taking the initiative and they're driving a change and driving a broad organizational transformation using the cloud because they can see actually it is possible.
Yeah, a little bit on that, I suppose. If you look at that drive and to cloud, and I agree with you, you know, the customers I talk to, everybody's made that leap quickly because they need to take advantage of the technology to help them in different ways of working, the way they're doing business at the moment. Are you seeing, in terms of cost effectiveness to run that, is it modernize then move? Is it hybrid? Is it lift and shift and then let's get into the cloud, or just leveraging specific services and with a strategy? So is it a strategic and a tactical approach?
Yeah, so I actually yesterday I pulled some statistics from the sort of last 12 months of our experience-based acceleration customers that we were working with, and it was really interesting. Actually, there was almost even split of customers that were using the cloud to innovate. So they were literally, you know, trying something, a new app, or trying to reach customers in a different way to make the customer transaction more cost effective, or they were using it to catalyze the migration project. So the lift and shift sort of you know, middle thing to do, where you can take a workload from your on-premises environment and move it into the cloud. And then we had a really a good number of customers who'd actually bitten the modernization sort of elephant and just said, look, we're going to take this monolith that's been in our data center for, you know, 25-30 years, and we're now going to modernize this, and we're going to move to high level services, you know, service oriented architectures, event driven software. So it's been a really interesting even split from my perspective, and really actually exciting to see as well. So it has really driven that change mindset in organizations.
Cool. And Arnold, you know, it's part of the valuable, a company is a valuable part of that cloud ecosystem and that whole, how customers get cost effectiveness. How has Intel managed to stay ahead of the curve? How's it managed to meet those customer demands on public cloud?
That's an interesting question, I think. I think we as Intel already adopted cloud on a very early stage. So we've been driving it from a very a long time already. COVID did accelerate our movement, especially when it came to providing services toward our employees on let's say, I would say less secure, but a different way and making it easier. We had quite some constraints on our VPN concentrators, which were moved away, upgraded in such a way, and very quickly, in a weekend's time, everybody was more or less able to connect digitally and work from home in a good way. So I think it has been the journey already for a longer time. And I think looking back at what our customers are doing, I think it's depending on the maturity of the customers where they were. And the lift and shift, if they are, let's say, the government, which was very lagging behind, and now, maybe a typical example, that's definitely what we're seeing. And the more, let's say, retail kind of customers who are a little bit ahead of the curve when it comes to user experience, and therefore already adopting cloud a little bit earlier. So, cool. It's an interesting mix there.
Okay, well, I'm conscious that we are coming to the end of the 15 minutes. I wanted to thank both Mario and Arnold, and my takeaway from this is, as the gentleman has said, I think the moves there. I think there are more intuitive ways of driving cost effectiveness, not just a lift and shift or a CAPEX OPEX model. I think those mindsets have changed. I think everybody's changing in the industry, and I think everybody needs to focus on it and being ready up front and making sure that you can realize those benefits down the back end. So again, thank you, Mario. Thank you, Arnold, and a great fireside chat. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks very much.
Bye.